Okay, let's slowly start this session. Well, there might be some people still coming while we talk, but in any case, welcome. This is already the fifth Go Digital Skills webinar series in Project Tourbit. And this time we will talk about data management. And today our speaker is Mr. Kristian Sievers from Lapland University of Applied Sciences. Welcome, Kristian.
Thank you.
And Kristian is a very fine expert. He has very vast experience concerning data management, especially in tourism. And he has worked in various European-wide projects and also national projects and regional projects here in Finland, Lapland. My name is Anu. I also come from Lapland University of Applied Sciences, and I will be hosting this webinar session. As usual, we will first hear a presentation from Kristian, and then at the end of the presentation, we have time for some questions. But without further ado, I will give floor to Kristian, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anu, and warmly welcome on my behalf for all, if I saw correctly, 4 participants, which is a good number anyway. Just to make sure that the presentation is visible, I think it is. Is it on the full screen now?
Yes.
And you can see and you can hear me as well. Well, yes. Hey, happy New Year for everybody, and grateful and thankful for the opportunity to discuss some of the issues concerning data, smart use of data in tourism SMEs in the beginning of this new year 2024. As Anu said, my name is Kristian Sievers, and I will give the presentation of roughly maybe about 30 minutes discussing these issues, but after that then we have time for discussion and so on, and questions, hopefully. Coming from Lapland University of Applied Sciences, just briefly, some background information about us and our actions. We work on several industry fields, but tourism is one of our important ones, and there we concentrate on sustainability is one of the main themes in there, but also experiences and other issues connected with tourist education and development in different research and development activities. We have about 5,700 students, 22 bachelor programs, and as the map sort of shows, which is from our point of view, looking the world, so we are really up north, closely connected to Norway, Sweden, and the border of Russia, as well as close by, and sort of from our point of view, the Europe is quite far away from from us, but we are really active in different European projects such as Tourbit, and happy to be part of international cooperation. Sustainability on many fields is one of our key issues. Of course, nature-related tourism is important in the tourist industry for Lapland, and also for several. The nature is wild, and that we have a lot of nature that we have to take care of, and also the only European indigenous people, Sami, are living in Lapland, so there's a lot of all the elements of sustainability are really important for us. We have a couple of slogans and something that distincts with Lapland University of Applied Sciences. We like to think of contradictions and sort of extremes, fire and ice. And currently I've been living the slogan, or then I've been using smartly data. So currently I'm located actually in Gran Canarias. I've had the opportunity to spend the Christmas time and a bit longer period here, and example of using data that we had with those people, my colleagues in Rovaniemi, have been having extremely cold weather, but in here we have been enjoying much nicer environment. So it's a good opportunity to participate in these global and European contexts from various locations. But found the message in here in Las Palmas as well, so digital nomads and tourists go home. So I'm happy to go back to the cold tomorrow, meet the ice again, and meet also the colleagues on real places. But yes, just briefly about my background. As Anu said, that data has been really important part of my work last 5-6 years, working mostly in programs and projects and development activities, research activities concerning use of data in destinations and also in companies. But the career path sort of comes from one of the starting points being working in Disneyland Paris for being Prince Charming in the Auberge de Cendrillon, then having some time working in the Christmas experiences, being the grumpy, scary creature, and now more and more it is with numbers and analysis. And I'm not sure if the career development has been good, but at least still strongly connected to tourist industry and trying to understand the value, the meaning behind the numbers, behind the forecast, behind the data is one of the key issues that I'm trying to sort of support that type of learning. I know there's a lot of technologies, there's a lot of data scientists, there's a lot of artificial intelligence that do many of the hard parts of using data, but I see that as sort of normal industry people, like I see myself understanding what hospitality tourist experiences are about, and then trying to find use implications and help for the destinations as well as small companies is the sort of main message for today that I'm trying to do today, as well as in otherwise in projects connecting data, being smart and tourist industries. As said, being part of several international projects, I had the pleasure of being representative for Regional Council of Lapland in an initiative coordinated by Nextur, called the Tourists of Tomorrow Lab. And then later on, finishing last year, was one of the experts in a project called Smart Tourist Destinations, which was working with 48 destinations Europe-wide, trying to help them and their ecosystems or destinations in the use of data. And a lot of the materials are thoughts, or some of the materials are connected with this project, and I do recommend, and I do sort of present them as well later on in the presentation, a good source for materials, for applied materials, really connecting the use of data in tourist industry and having a lot of examples from European destinations and companies. But yes, the topic for today and the main agenda of this introduction is sort of three main topics: introduce current trends in the field of smart tourism, key concepts of data collection, data analysis, use of data, and then some examples, practices that where smart tourism and data use can be used in the field of SMEs. Although I am happy and really excited about this opportunity, the limitation of that we have about 30 minutes time, it will be a brief introduction, sort of summarizing some of the things, and hopefully encourage all of you listening today or maybe listening to the recording later on to understand what this is about, what maybe it is not about, and what are the sort of starting things to understand when moving into world of use of data. And as said, in the after the sort of recorded lecture type session, there will be time for questions and comments, which I'm really happy to discuss about. And maybe the one thing, and if nothing else, comes to the mind, or something that you remember after this presentation, is a sort of mission statement that I have modified from different sources, and sort of why use of data is important. Why should it be done? And the the two main reasons in one sentence that why use data smartly in tourist SMEs is that we aim to improve the quality of decision making and achieve a competitive advantage. And this is something that in the even in the examples, and especially when we talk about destinations, when destinations have several objectives of concerning sustainability, regional development, etc., the use of data is basically more widespread, and there's several other reasons for using data. But when we talk about companies, especially tourist SMEs, which have limited resources, are really small on average, that the why bother, why to think of use of data is that asking the question that if I spend some time, effort in analyzing, understanding whatever type of data, it needs to help me in making better decisions and hopefully aiming me to achieve a competitive advantage. As universities, research institutes, different other players in the ecosystem can use data and should be using data for many, many reasons. But for the companies, I see it really straightforward that don't get sort of overexcited that, yes, let's have all the data and find out many, many things. No, concentrate on those things that help you doing a better business. The other reason or sort of standing point, how I see things, is that the picture illustration there is artificial intelligence made picture about this, and it is more connected to the larger companies in our industry. We all know that the booking.coms, the Expedias, etc., they have huge amount of resources. They have different analysis. They have the manpower, all the capacity to come together like in these type of imaginary board meetings and have all the data concerning global, local, regional preferences, etc., what they are doing. And as we or you, the tourist SMEs, are competing, sometimes cooperating, but in essence, we try to survive the competition against those global giants. We have to be able to use data as well. All the major players in our university are spending a lot of time in all the aspects of use of data. They are and they will be doing it in a way better than we are, but we have to, as small SMEs, also take part of it, be precise, be specific in the areas where we can use data and try to help us in competing overall with the small and large players in the industry. And so the picture I said, unrealistic. I don't know. I don't think that there is a tourist SME in the category who would have 15 or 13 people around the chair in the suits making decisions based on data. That's not the aim. The aim is to find our niche, be good in those areas where we can use data. But yeah, that's the mindset. I don't know if it's completely correct, but that's how I see what SMEs should be concentrating. But a little bit more about the current trends and issues that what has been happening. I said that our Smart Tourist Destinations was a European initiative for almost 2 years, which aimed to help, in this case, 48 destinations from 21 European countries, implementing data-driven approaches and making tourism more sustainable and smarter. And it was a great learning experience for me, for the experts, and also for the destinations in order to learn from each other and recognizing that how similar the opportunities and the situations among this sample of wide variety of destinations was. Some of the more advanced destinations have more resources, but it really helped a lot of the destinations to take steps forward. And some of the pillars of smart tourism, and I do remind that this is from the perspective of destinations, but I see the pillars or the principles of data and being smart for SMEs. They are the same things that we have to take care of, same things to understand and have our view that how do we take the opportunities, take advantage of the opportunities, or challenge, overcome the challenges that are connected of being smart. The first step is the strategy and governance. Like I sort of said, that in my view, SMEs should only be concentrating on making a better business, but each company should decide on the strategy level that what are the areas of our business or my business that we want to improve, be more data-driven. It seldom makes sense to try to be holistically data-driven because we don't have maybe enough resources for that, but rather be really specific. Do I want my marketing to be more data-driven? Do I want to make my pricing more data-driven? Whatever, being really specific of the questions, of the objectives that why and on what areas I want to be smart. Then is the technology part of collection management, technological solutions, which is important, but it's more like a consequence that where we want to have our effort is that then making sure that we have the tools and the systems for doing that. And they are, sometimes I see companies and especially even destinations investing a lot of time in planning and implementing technological solutions, building dashboards, whatever. And then if they don't have a clear view that what we are going to do with the new data is sort of, it's not recommended. Being maybe time and money are spent badly if we don't really know what we're going to do. Something to take care and really consider in the SMEs and in our industry as well is that we need new skills for our staff and people who are working in our companies. Data era of being smart, and it's quite a recent phenomenon as a sort of major step in European level, and it's not really included in a lot of training programs. A lot of the entrepreneurs in our field are more driven by their aims and objectives and passion to create nice hospitality and tourist experiences rather than making data-led decisions, as well as our, especially now after COVID, when we are lacking human capital and skills in all levels, but there isn't a really great amount of people who are data-driven and working for our industry. Other industries are more well paid if you can do magic with data. And the 4 and 5 parts are then the important for SMEs as well, and the overall being smart is that we need to have partnerships. We need to work with companies together, having expert help from the destination management organizations or digital innovation hubs or whatever. There's no, I'm not in no way saying that all SMEs should have a great data department. No, we should know what we are doing, finding that we have enough people in our organizations to do the stuff, and then with the partners find a investment led in a way that we think of the return of the investment in the time and resources we are doing for being smart. So these 5 pillars is something to remember, and the smart tourist destination, as the presentation and the links will be, did a good job in writing short descriptions, fact sheets of all these pillars and things connected with them, reminding still that they are from the viewpoint of destinations, but many of them are exactly the same or can be applied to companies as well, and for further understanding and reading about them. So do strongly recommend them. Just the couple of other examples is that when thinking, or if thinking, that what really is going on in the data use in destinations, the Smart Tourist Destination Projects has a good library of presentations. They did a large study on, or it was a network of type of things where my role was limited, but still published a lot of good stuff, like the study of mastering data by European destinations, guide for data for tourist destinations, summaries, and some of the materials are, like the toolkit, are available in all European Union languages. So really a good and worthy database or digital library to have a look at if wanting to know more about specific things. So current trends in the field and going on. Yes, data is used widely. Many destinations use it really effectively. Majority are still in the sort of, and of course with the SMEs as well, are quite early steps still, that recognizing the value, building the systems, and looking into areas where data can be used. And then moving on to the second headline for today's things, key concepts, and then ending up with practices and examples. One of the main concepts about using data is this type of pyramid that consists of data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. And might be several interpretations about that, but data is the starting point. That's the base for being smart. But data itself is just signals, know nothing type of information, zeros or ones on one level, that it's a number, it consists of numbers, and something that is important but doesn't really give any value. Then if we give it the context, it becomes information. It is then somehow organized, it is structured, it is useful for different purposes. But then when we give it the meaning, it becomes knowledge. Then it's somehow connected that instead of that we know that tourism globally is growing 4.2%, it gives us an understanding that in my region, in those clients that I'm trying to attract, or whatever, give an idea that, okay, German market is growing faster than me, or something like that, then it comes something that can be learned. And then when it gives insight, goes something for the future, something that gives us advice that should we be spending more time or less time on certain things, we have wisdom. And the theoretical model, yes, but still gives the idea that we need to do stuff with data. Often used example is comparing in the world of Legos, that data as such is different shapes of and different colors of pieces. But when we give it the context, let's build a house, let's build a modern house and build it to something that is useful. And with Legos, you can build whatever. And the same basically goes with data, that we can do whatever with it and really many, many things. But we have to know what we want to do and be sort of investing in understanding the nature and context, as well as the meaning of data. The second key concept that I want to remind is 4 types of data analysis. Often is seen and done that, yeah, we go into the use of data and we try to understand everything about it, or whatever. We are not clear what we actually are doing. Then it's good to remember that I like this model a lot, saying that which based on asking questions, and the what we are asking from the data is then connects us to the way that how we should be analyzing it, what should we be doing with data. And there's no right or wrong in here. There's more value maybe on the added levels of data analysis. It becomes more complex, but then as said, the value might help in doing that. The first level is descriptive analysis, which tells us that what happened in real time or after certain point, but we know that, okay, what happened yesterday, what happened last month, what happened in our destination, in our company. And it's important for operations management. It's quite easy to do. We know how much money we made, how many customers we had, etc. And that's something that we should be doing with our own data and being clear that where we are, what happened. But the second level becomes more interesting is that when we try to understand why things happened. Why did we have less customers or more customers last week? Why this marketing campaign worked better than the other one we used in different channel and so on. And then the question setting is really important for the data analysis. And that's something that artificial intelligence, for example, can help a bit. But if we don't ask right questions from, is it artificial intelligence or is it university or is it the student doing some project for us, we don't get the right answers. So being clear that, okay, do we really not want to know what happened, or are we more interested in why things happened and so on? It changes the mindset and the aim of the analysis. The third level is then predictive type of analysis. And then we try to, as the word sort of says, look in that what will happen next week, what will happen next month, next season, whatever. Then the whole question is completely different. It's not that we are interested in the past, we are looking into the future. We're trying to understand what are the opportunities or the challenges, as said, in the future. And the fourth level, prescriptive type of setting, is then that we look into the data analysis, asking, what should I be doing next? And then we are looking into more advanced answers that, yes, okay, German market is booming. How much more I should be spending there? What type of channels I should be using? What are the things that I should be changing in my offering in order to be successful in that market? Again, completely different question setting and so on. It is complex. It's something that all the global companies are more and more into this setting. I know IKEA is basing their advertising campaigns on weather forecasts, because they know when it's rainy, people are looking for activities to spend money, that they are indoors, and they activate their campaigns on these type of things automatically. And these, it's one example of these, that what are the larger players doing. But even for us, that some of the work we use with data is more trying to understand why, what is happening in the predictive. It's an important step forward. So these two sort of basic models, understanding the nature of data, being like Lego blocks, we need to aim at having some kind of something done out of the data, and then being precise in what do we ask basically from the data when we start analyzing it, or we have a partner analyzing the data for it. The last part of this presentation is after the European context, coming back to Finland. I was participating in a project that we wrote a guidebook for utilizing data for small and medium tourist companies. The opportunities from data is the name. It has not yet been translated, so I'm using just the pictures to support my speech. And for those who are really get interested, can study. Of course, use, for example, IE or some other translator to use some of the materials. But and I hope that it will be translated, because it's really directed sort of on the beginner level of SMEs and those who are still looking what to do with data. The book has some sort of theories and models, but also collection of tourist companies that have been using different tools on these pillars, mostly connected with the aim part and then the data collection, as well some things about the partnerships. And something to I said the pictures are there to support my speech and maybe giving you something to see on the screen. But the thing to remind that maybe I haven't said that much is that a majority of companies could do more by using their internal data. So often we look that, yes, we have to purchase something or have some kind of service to give us something more. It is true, it can be beneficial, but only also by understanding more about, for example, our online behavior. How do customers behave online? And then looking the same question, that what should I be doing in order to get better sales, or how should I organize the online analytics that many of us use, Google Analytics or different types of tools, which provide us huge amount of the Lego blocks. We know a lot of key figures and so on, that we have them, but as small companies, we only have limited time. So we should be quite precise that, okay, this performance indicator is the important for me. Is it conversion? Is it whatever it is? But instead of having all the potential information, having a limitation on what to do, and looking at the internal data sources, if we can combine them, online sales data, customer feedbacks, already gives us a good opportunity to know more about what happened and why things happened as they were happening. The other element then, after if we have done some, or looking at first internally what we have as a data, is then having opportunity to compare the data. The example here is Benchmarking Alliance, or the use of Benchmarking Alliance, which is a Swedish company active in many Nordic countries and also Netherlands and Baltic states. And the idea is that independent companies share their data, which is sales data, to platform, and they get immediately performance or benchmark indicator. How did my company do in comparison to other companies in my area? It is really active in hotels, but also in restaurants, and the value is there that I might if we only use internal data, we might be thinking that, yeah, I sold more than I did last week, so things are okay. But if all the competitors are selling twice as much that I am selling, I'm actually losing market share and not taking benefits. So having opportunity to compare your own performance with other companies is really important part of being smart. And the other great thing about this service, where there are other services alike, is that it's fast. So hotels get immediate and report of yesterday's key figures. So they know that now they would know hotels using it, what was the average room rate, the occupancy rate in competitors in the same market yesterday, which helps in operational management a lot more. The one of the last examples is, which I like more, like really much, was the example of Temppeliaukio Church. That it's in the picture on the right hand side. It's one of the major attractions in Helsinki. It is a church that it's built in rock and a nice special architecture, and I think they have roughly 1.2 million visitors each year to just to see the building, but it's not for profit. It's a real church and so on. But they participate in a tourist feedback project we did, and I think it was such a good idea that if the global players are doing it, but if the church is using analytics tools to understand how tourists see the visit to the church, it gives maybe a push for us in the industry as well, that maybe we should be quite systematic in there as the non-profit places are doing it. What happened here is, or what they used here is a Dutch company, My Reputation Manager, O'Leary, which is one of many in the field, which collects customer online reviews from 49 to 47 sites and gives a dashboard where I see that if whatever company or customers, if they written feedback on Google, TripAdvisor, Yelp, whatever, these 49 different places, it collects all the information and gives the companies and the destinations a summary, what's going on with the view of customers, and again, really in a monthly overview. And so we often do and collect feedback. We have our own questionnaires and we read them, which is already good. But then being systematic in understanding the customer experience, and this tool as well provides the opportunity to compare my performance against the other companies and tourist attractions in the field. So using tools, platforms, which there are plenty, not trying to solve all the questions yourself, but being systematic in there. And if the church is aiming to improve their visitor experience, we all should be doing it. And the last example, so to go back to Lapland, is and having a little bit of Lapis flavor of Aurora Borealis, was an example which was really precise in marketing, directing. There was a lot of visitors to Lapland. They pre-book their safaris, but not all of them. And in this project, we or the company, with the help of others, was running a really hyper-local advertising campaign to selling the last minute and also attracting those customers who were not yet have booked the opportunities. So selling on those sort of last minute, on the spot, inspiring marketing for those that maybe heard that, okay, tomorrow is an opportunity for Auroras, how to do it, then having push type of marketing on that side. Example of that we have to be, it's not generally trying to understand marketing as such, no, being precise that yes, I want to target these, I want to test these methodologies in order to sort of maximize the potential that there is. So summing up to the repetition part. So smart use of data in tourism SMEs aims to improve the quality of decision making and achieve a competitive advantage. Not trying to do too many things, prioritize the questions, set your aims in there that, okay, I'll start with these steps. These give us better understanding and helps us compete with the other companies, the small and large, and that's the way, in my view, it's best way to start with the use of data in SMEs. I'll stop the share and happy to answer some questions or comments if there is something.
Thank you very much, Kristian, for the introduction. And if we have any questions, now would be the time for them. If the other participants are a bit shy.
Thank you, Veronique, for your comment.
Yes, thank you. You can also put the questions to the chat. But of course, as usual, I have a question or two for you, Kristian, as well. So
I already said I'm coming to Rovaniemi tomorrow. So if that's one of your questions as my boss.
Yes. would you say that even though the data management is much about technology and data and smart, but what makes it smart are actually the people. So basically, what would you say that would be the human factor, so to say? Is it in decision making or?
Well, yeah, definitely, and as it was in the 5 pillars, the human capital and skills, that I do completely understand the value, well, not completely understand the value of artificial intelligence, but I see the view that many saying that it will help in these cases, and it is important part of the toolbox that we can use, but I still see that it's really important in having the human element, having the understanding of the industry, that having the context and the meaning, if we talk of the words on the pyramid. So numbers are numbers, and sort of data is data, and information is still mostly numbers or visuals, whatever. But then the interpretations need to be done by still a lot to do done by the human people who understand the business and the numbers. And then, of course, we have a lot of companies in our industry that still use paper and pen and are successful. That there are people who are can understand their business good enough that they work without computers. But in order to grow, to be more sustainable, to be maybe more profitable, I see that there needs to be data and the human element.
Yes, I think I really enjoyed the Lego metaphor. That was very insightful. So basically, knowing what to do with your puzzle pieces.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's not. I have not invented. I just copied from somewhere the idea, but that it's true. And then I have a lot of kids, and I love Legos, but mostly the Legos are something that you walk on the floor, and it's the same with data. That something is nice, something is not nice, but once you do something magical with the things, they are really, really great. The Legos as well can be the things with data and being smart.
Hopefully, it's not as painful as walking into a Lego, but also what's very interesting for people, of course, is where do you get data? I mean, like, would you say that the first, I mean, you already kind of like gave us hints where to start, but isn't it true that the companies actually have lots of data?
Yeah, that's what I tried to hint.
Yeah,
and I do and I would start there, really looking at what are the different things in there and different data points we have, because often, especially with and that's maybe the, like, if we do, I'm not saying booking.com is bad, but the connection with accommodation providers and booking.com is part of the ecosystem and all the others. And as booking.com has all the data from all the destinations and so on, they share something of it to companies, but the companies can really benefit from the one that different platforms give them. But because then sometimes that's in the booking.com user place, some of our own POS materials are in different place, and then our customer feedback is somewhere else. We don't really have often a thing that we look at them jointly and so on. And we are more and more many companies are looking at, for example, the customer reviews from booking site and looking that, okay, that's good enough, but then how really combining parts of the data on those elements that are valuable. And yes, I would start really looking at internal data, looking at the opportunities there. Well, once I know what I want to do with data, and remembering the customer, the first step is that, okay, do I want to make more money? Do I want to have a better customer experience, or my marketing to, well, then look at the internal sources and then doing that. And the next step, if that's going to be the question as well, is then looking for partners, meaning the partners can be from the destination management organizations, visit organizations, digital innovation hubs, chambers of commerce, universities of applied sciences, universities, etc. Many of them have support elements of using it, understanding it, and participating in different types of projects, and can help and give access to external data sources as well. There's the wide that will be happening, well, the ongoing process that the whole European tourist data space will be coming, and there will be more and more things, open data sources coming, I see in recent times. But I somehow see that the SMEs, the main partners for SMEs are the quite close one partners, that you don't have to understand everything what's going on in the world, rather having something that understands your region, collects that data for you, and then does some of the hard work for you, and you are the ones, the SMEs are then the ones to asking questions that, yeah, we would like to know more about when do Germans book their holidays, and what are the things, sort of being precise on what are your data needs and questions, and then presenting them to the data partners, or is my sort of recommendation.
Super. Thank you. I don't see any other hands or questions, so
I will look again at the chat of saying thank you very much, which is nice to get good feedback. And yeah, but the contact information is there, the presentation will be, and I'm really happy to continue the discussion on other forums on this type. So if you come up with a question, please send me an email, and I'll be happy to answer.
yes, and we will continue with this topic then later on in the spring. Thank you very much for participating, and especially thank you, Kristian. And have a very happy New Year and a great week.
Excellent. Take care.
Safe travels, Kristian.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.